People think theme parks close when the gates lock, that once the fireworks end, once the music fades, once families leave with souvenirs and tired kids, everything just shuts off. But that's not how it works. In reality, the park never really sleeps. It just changes. Lights dim instead of turning off. Music lowers instead of stopping. Staff moves differently. Security stops blending in. And once in a while, the park closes early. Not because of weather, not because of power, and not because of technical difficulties. They close it because something happened that they don't want thousands of people witnessing at once. This isn't one story, it's a pattern. And the strange part is, the people who were there all remember it the same way. Ask anyone who visits theme parks long enough, and eventually you'll hear about that night. The one where the fireworks didn't happen, the one where cast members stopped making eye contact, the one where rides shut down quietly instead of loudly. One guest said they were in line when the indoor ride ahead of them simply paused. No announcement, no evacuation. The doors stayed closed. Lights inside the building went dark, but the sign out front stayed lit. Security appeared near exits that guests didn't even know existed, and when someone asked what was happening, the response was calm, rehearsed, and empty. We're experiencing a temporary delay. That delay lasted almost an hour, and no one ever came out. Multiple people remember the time, not because it was announced, but because everything shifted at once. Music volume dropped across the park. Entire sections dimmed. Cast members stopped chatting. Security radios started crackling. At exactly 11:43 p.m., a popular ride reopened, but it didn't take guests. The vehicles ran empty. Cars moving through the track with nobody inside. Safety bars locked. Lights on. Guests watched silently from behind rope barriers. Someone laughed nervously. Someone else asked if it was a test run. No one answered. Then a word came through the radios. Just one. Hold. Employees are trained for breakdowns. They're trained for medical incidents, for lost children, for weather evacuations. They are not trained for silence. One former employee said that night felt wrong immediately. Supervisors weren't talking. They were listening. Radios stayed quiet longer than normal, and when instructions came through, they were vague. Do not speculate. Redirect guests. Stay in position. No details, no reassurance. Just compliance. At one point, an employee was pulled aside and told, if anyone asks questions, say it's weather-related. The sky was clear. Guests never see the backstage corridors, long fluorescent hallways, concrete floors, buzzing lights. That's where employees were quietly moved. No running, no yelling, just calm urgency. One worker said they saw a cast member being escorted down a service hallway. No costume, no badge, hands shaking. They didn't look scared. They looked stunned. Security walked on either side of them, not touching, but close enough to block any view. Nobody said a word. Several guests later said they heard yelling, not screams, not panic. Yelling, muffled, angry, coming from inside the closed ride building. Security immediately moved in front of the entrance. Guests were turned around. Phones were lowered. One person said their recording glitched. Right as the sound started, the yelling stopped suddenly. Too suddenly. Moments later, the park announced an early closure. No apology, just a calm message thanking everyone for their understanding. Refunds were processed automatically. The park reopened the next morning. No damage, no ride closures listed. Everything looked normal. Cast members smiled. Music played. Guests laughed. When people asked what happened the night before, every employee responded the same way. I'm not sure what you're referring to. Online posts disappeared. Videos were removed. Accounts that shared details went quiet, except for one comment that lasted less than an hour. It wasn't a mechanical failure. We were told not to say what it was. Here's where it gets strange, because when people started comparing stories, patterns emerged. Different years, different rides, same behaviors, early closures, no announcements, refunds, silence afterward, employees using the same phrases, security moving the same way, guests remembering the same uneasy calm. Whatever happens often enough that there's a system for it. And that system doesn't involve explanations. Some guests say they were walked out separately, away from crowds. Others say they were asked not to post videos for safety reasons. One person claims a staff member quietly told them, "You didn't see anything." They weren't threatened. They weren't scared. They were confused. And confusion is easier to dismiss than fear. People go home. They second-guess their memories. And life moves on. There are theories, safety incidents, behavior incidents, ride automation failures, training drills gone wrong. Each theory explains part of it. None explain all of it, because no theory explains the silence, or the coordinated responses, or why the same phrases are used by people who never work together. After the park closes, rides still move. Lights still glow. Security still patrols. And once in a while, something happens that isn't meant for guests. The park doesn't hide it with panic. It hides it with calm. Because calm makes people doubt themselves. If nothing happened, why does everyone remember it the same way? Why do rides briefly lose audio at the same spot? Why do lights flicker where they shouldn't? And why does everyone who worked there pause before saying they loved the job? The park never comments. It never has to. Because by the next morning, everything looks normal again. And if you were there that night, you probably know what really happened. You've just been told not to talk about it. Compound TV. More stories coming.